Hey guys, this is Pedro back with another interview, this time covering VCT Americas Stage 1 for playoffs. My guest at this time is EU of 100 Thieves coming off of their match against NRG in which they came out victorious, thus moving on to the next round of said lower bracket and in said competition. And so EU, thank you so much for the opportunity. Really do appreciate it. This time coming off of a victory, it's always much better to have these kinds of interviews after that kind of result. And so, gotta give you the obvious opener. How are you feeling?
Feeling good for the win. Results wise, I'm feeling good. Obviously, like physically, I'm feeling a little unwell, but regardless of how I'm feeling, excuses aren't really going to save us or like help us win a game or help us win our next game. So rather keep that out of the way and just like focus on the road forward. I was really happy with the way Xander played today. So I'm really proud of Xander and really happy for him. Basically, how I'm feeling.
Oh, for sure. I mean, definitely, it was a comeback type of game for Xander, given that he wasn't able to perform to the best of his abilities back in the first match against MIBR, and so I can also like probably assume that there was plenty of pressure for him to like kind of bounce back. He did exactly that. I mean, when you see someone like him go through that kind of thing, how good does this must feel for not only for himself but also for the rest of the team to show like, hey, he's still present. He's still there, man. He can still chip in with the big contribution.
For me personally, it's like this game was like M80 Xander form, kind of in a way. Like the impact that he had in this game and the way that he was playing in this game, the decisions that he was making would be like similar to the stuff that I would see when he would be playing with us on M80. So I think for Xander, the biggest thing for him is to trust himself and realize that regardless of like the system that us four have together because of what we carried over from last year and like the way that we play off of each other, at the end of the day, Xander was kind of like our X Factor player on M80. Like he was the person that kind of stepped away from that all. And even though like Sean and Xander aren't the same player in that way, I could definitely tell like this game, for example, Xander like hard trusted in his own ability basically. Like he had full confidence in himself and realized that, if he just like if he shoots heads, he'll fry, right? So
No, he definitely did exactly that, and kind of obviously contributed to the team's result today with a victory over NRG, and it featured two maps in which like one was a much more dominating display by your team, and then the second half, and then the other map saw a much more equal kind of footing between your team and NRG, and obviously you guys were able to pull away in the second half on Haven on a defense side. Just kind of like, how do you view the challenge of NRG and having to also move on from MIBR with like little time to do so, and also on top of that, just kind of like going through the VOD review because I saw like Bustio told me about like you guys having to go through 6 hours of VOD reviewing. So what was that situation like for you as a whole?
um I mean, I was chilling. The VOD review is chill. It's not even that bad of an experience. We VOD reviewed until like 10, 11 p.m. That's not that bad. On M80 in Ascension, when we were over there in Brazil, there was a VOD review that Happy had us do until like 4 a.m. or something like that, like 5 a.m. the next morning. So I'm tested. I'm battle tested. I'm ready for VOD review. That stuff's all fine. I mean, we're just trying to win, honestly. So like we're doing the VOD review, trying to improve on what we can from last game to the game forward to make sure we have our best chances of making it to Toronto. And yeah, I mean,
No, for sure. No need for further elaboration on that. And obviously, like, I want to ask you about what it was the previous match in MIBR and just having to like move on from that. What do you feel affected the team on that map or on that match that you guys had to emphasize from that to today?
Um, hard to say really. MIBR and Energy are like such different teams in the sense of like MIBR really understands how all of their players play like each other. Like they sort of all play on autopilot in a sense, I would say. And their players use that awareness of how everybody's player tendencies works to kind of like adapt to it rather than trying to like force like a super strict system like Sentinels kind of. So similarly to NRG, like their system is sort of based around like FNS's calling or if Mono wants to call for like a play for himself or something like that. And so playing the two teams is kind of like entirely different in my head at least. It's not even like it's not very close to like the same game that you'd be playing, but I think the bigger takeaway for us from the MIBR game that we needed in that game was sort of that when we do stuff together and we make sure that we're kind of all inning a little more and playing together and like trading out, it looks a lot better for us versus when we're trying to sort of like pick off the enemy and like do more individualistic plays, or like let's say we play like a mid round, like we're like prime FNS or something, and we're calling like B to A, back to B, back to like mini fake A, and then go back to mid B or something like that. Like this type of stuff is like harder for our type of team versus I mean, like when we were like Prime 100 Thieves in stage one, we played bind and just A slammed like 12 rounds in a row, and teams knew it was coming, but they couldn't stop it just because of, I mean, I don't know. I don't really know at the time, but
Mhm.
um, yeah. So that was like the bigger takeaway, I think, for MIBR coming into this game. And I think we played really well this game. Like, my aim was fucking some of the worst shit I think I've had like my entire career. But I think the decision making that I had was good this game, and I think everyone else's decision making was good, and they had good aims. So we ended up winning out because like fighting together, playing off each other, making sure our comms are good.
I want to ask you about one part of the match that happened from your team. More so, just looking at like Haven, and also not really focusing on the result, or maybe like a little bit, but
Mhm.
um, the decision to go like single duelist and having to like kind of veer off what everybody else is doing and going double duelist. I want to know from your point of view, what that is like. Just having to like see what's going on and say, you know what, screw all that. Let's just go our way. How do you kind of look at that difference between your team and the rest of the league?
I mean, to be honest, that's kind of how our team's always been. Like, even like playstyle wise, we take inspiration from what other people are doing and what other teams are doing, but we've never really been a team to like hard copy what another team is doing unless we think it fits our identities. So, like for Haven, running like a neon and running like an ISO really just works for us, I would say. Like double duelist for our team, when we're able to kind of like the first point that I brought up in the middle of this interview, where I was saying like if we run it down together and we trade out, it's really good for us. If you're running neon and you're running ISO, I mean like that's kind of like one of the only ways you can play the game is by like running down together and trading out. So it sort of like forces us into what we're already good at. So yeah, like the double duelist just fits our identity, I would say, and with it fitting our identity, it makes it so that we're comfortable playing the map regardless of like what the scenarios might be, because we sort of fit that same cookie cutter.
No, for sure. I mean, as for what exactly happened, I had to like I replug my laptop because it was running out of battery. So sorry about that.
You're okay.
Um,
You're fine.
and so obviously with this result, now you guys move on towards the next round of the lower bracket, where you guys will presumptively await the loser of the, I believe, G2 and Sentinels match.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty a tough schedule or tough opponent, whoever it is that you guys will have to face. How do you look at the potential matchup between either of these two teams? How do you kind of look at the road ahead?
I think both of those teams play a very like tight style of Valorant where they don't have a lot of like there's not a lot of availability for us to find advantages in the round and play off of them. So I think the G2 and the Sen game, regardless of who we play, winning versus those two teams is very big, I think, for us to make a run and win like the international event if we can make it, because the way we win like some of the games against the teams who give advantages easily, it's like we'll just like pile up advantages and then end up winning. But for us to like really be a world class team, we need to be able to play teams like G2, play teams like Sentinels who won't give us those advantages, and we need to be able to like scrap and win these team fights on our own terms, or like find a way to like not play into their game and make sure that we can win team fights based off of the way that we're taking them. And so I would say both teams are pretty good at that exactly. Like they're very good at like these micro skirmishes where you're not going to be able to find any freebies in the round or anything before they take their micro skirmish. And when they do take it, they're very good in the sense of like their scaling, their spacing, the utility that they throw before they go into it. And if you can't be good at that, like if we're not good at that as a team, to be honest, like there isn't even a point of us going to the international event. We're not going to be able to win it. So I think the G2 and the Sun game is really important for us, because I think to beat those two teams, that's an area of our game that we need to be good at and we need to be focused on. And I'm super confident that if we can win versus either G2 or Sentinels, it doesn't matter to me because they both play like that sort of like tight knit style, that we could propel forward for like a good performance at the international event or like qualifying to the international event. It's definitely a lot better for us than you know I would rather play G2 or Sentinels for us personally as a team because of what we need to improve on over any other team in the bracket if we were going to try to win this international event. So I think it's a really good test for us, basically.
And it will be a test that you guys will have to confront in 2 days, I believe, from the time of this recording. One more question: you kind of mentioned it in one of your answers earlier on in the conversation about peak 100 Thieves and how that was more prevalent back then than last year, I assume. And how do you kind of look at the current level of this team to peak 100 Thieves in your mind? You know, where do you kind of look at the gap?
I think when you change players, you can't just like follow the same like old system that your other team had. So like peak 100 Thieves played differently than the way that this team plays. I think like for us, I would say the biggest thing that I would want to focus on the most is just kind of incorporating the strengths of how we can kind of have like all 5 players play their game, sort of like what MIBR is doing a little bit. Like the way that MIBR's system works is this is just my hunch also, just from like what I follow their content a lot and I like the team a lot, so I've like watched a lot of their stuff. But as far as I'm aware, like I said earlier, it's a lot of like awareness of what your other teammates are doing, even though they might not all be making like the super same strict decision. Like we're gonna do C retake on Lotus, and then when we come back and do C retake on Lotus, like this is where the Uto's going here, this is where this is going here, like kind of like how Sentinels and G2 play. So I think MIBR has a lot of like individualistic plays in the rounds that everybody else is sort of aware of because they kind of do it like the same way every time, and they sort of empower their players into doing it. So I think for our team, that would be like genuinely a really good thing to improve on, I would say. Not like trying to limit the individualistic plays that people want to do, but sort of like finding a way to pull it into like our overall structure and team system, so that way it's not just random every time and we're just like playing ranked or like pugging or anything like that. It's like even you saw here, like in this game, Xander was fighting like with our boys, like we're doing like 3-2-1s together and triple peaking, and Xander is just completely frying. So like if you can set up, honestly, if you can set up like all 5 of us for like a decent fight where we're taking like I guess like a fight on our terms and we're empowering the way that people already want to play, I think that it's really good for us moving forward versus you know, trying to be more like cookie cutter, trying to be like retake C, retake A, retake B. It's just never been like our system in the past. So, and our players aren't very comfortable playing like that, I would say. So yeah, I think it's like the biggest thing.
No, for sure. I mean, eeiu, thank you so much for the opportunity for the interview. Really do appreciate it. I got to wrap it because I'm getting those pings to do exactly that. So I don't want to make them any mad, the voices from my head. So thank you so much, eeiu, for once again, and best of luck for you in the journey ahead.
All right, thank you for the interview again, Pedro.